Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new week of streaming here on DSPGaming. And what a day we've got in store. This show, particularly, is going to have so much to talk about, including addressing misinformation about this very show that I wasn't even aware of until I started checking video comments overnight. But in addition to that, we've got all kinds of new updates on gaming news, more Elden Ring DLC information, tons of information about other games and how they're doing. I have an update on the status of co-op with my wife and I in future playthroughs. Phil's Day Off segment. I mean, we've got a loaded show today, so let's get started right here on the Level 1 podcast. Alrighty, everyone, so welcome to the show. It is Friday, the 23rd of February, 2024. Of course, I'm DSP. First of all, it looks bright in here because it is. Full sun outside today. Even my blinds can't really hold it back, so that's why, if you're like, oh, the coloring is like way off, I can't really see the background today, that's the reason why. Now, this is the start of a new streaming week, and the start of a shorter streaming week. Only 5 days this week, while normally my work week is 6. You might say, well, I wonder why Phil's doing a shorter week. It's because of the impending release of the ginormous game Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You may have heard of it, considering it's been the talk of the town the last couple of days since the advanced reviews have released, and everyone is praising this game profusely. Actually, if you look at like Metacritic, it is actually the second highest rated Final Fantasy game ever at launch. Apparently, the only other Final Fantasy game that rated this highly was Final Fantasy IX on the PlayStation 1. Now, I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if it's skewed for some reason. I mean, we did just have Final Fantasy 16 last year, which was polarizing. So maybe the fact that we now have a Final Fantasy game that most people are really enjoying and there's really no argument about that is a good thing. So, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth releasing on Thursday, February 29th, that kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into my plans. As usual, I would have a day off on a Thursday, just like I did yesterday. But the 29th is Thursday. I want to be here for the release of the day, or the release of the game, so I'm going to shift my day off by a day. So my day off next week will actually be Wednesday the 28th, which means I'll be here all day long on Thursday the 29th to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with all of you, which I'm very excited for. I've already told you guys many, many times that this essentially will be one of my biggest hyped playthroughs of the year. Like, I felt way more hyped for this game than pretty much anything so far, and quite frankly, looking at the rest of the game landscape for the year, I think this is going to be one of the big ones, okay? So let's see how it goes, but anyway, being that that is the case, I'm not here, well, I'm not going to be here Wednesday, but that means my whole schedule is kind of abridged, a little bit less time to do extra stuff this week, and this week will be a big push to get as far as I can in the existing games we're playing before Final Fantasy VII comes out and becomes the major new release and the major game that I'm playing for several weeks. Okay, in fact, if I remember correctly, the next major release is around the 22nd of the month or something like that, and I think that's Rise of the Ronin as well as Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, we also know there's another game coming out, the Star Wars Battlefront Collection, that's coming out around the middle of the month, and that's cool. We may throw that in there for multiplayer fun, but it's going to give us 2 to 3 weeks to basically focus really heavily on Final Fantasy VII, okay? All right, so we got so much to talk about, really. We've got a ton to talk about. How about this? How about we start at the beginning, meaning going back to Wednesday, because I want to address something that apparently happened on my day off that I wasn't aware of, but happens all the time. As you know, there's a ton of people on the internet who just basically are out to always make me look bad no matter what it is I say and do. I'm constantly misrepresented, I'm constantly misreferenced, and I'm constantly held in a negative light, even though there's really no valid reason for it. Now, if there's a valid reason for it, that's one thing. But we've got a case here where literally, apparently, there's a group of people who are really angry with me, and I don't know why, because literally what they're angry at me for didn't happen, okay? Let's recap and go back to Wednesday's show, all right? On this very show, the Level 1 podcast, back on Wednesday, I had a big segment about Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erd Tree. At that moment when I record the podcast, which is starting around 11 a.m., okay, 11 a.m. Pacific time, all right, I talked about everything that was known at the time about this DLC. The price, the features, because we had seen some of those features shown in the release trailer, and speculation. At that point, 11 a.m. Pacific time, the trailer for this DLC had only been present on the internet for 4 hours. It had released around 7 a.m. There was no other information. Everything was speculation. Now, what ended up happening was, over the course of the day, more information was released because Miyazaki, the guy behind Elden Ring and other FromSoft games, was interviewed. And when he was interviewed, he gave a ton of additional information about the DLC that was all positive stuff that, number one, is exactly what Elden Ring fans are looking for, and number two, actually answered a lot of the questions that we posed together when we were talking about this DLC back on Wednesday. So let's recap. Originally, when we were talking about this Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC, right, we were talking about some of the things that we actually saw in it, which included a new boss, some new gameplay elements, etc., who is Mesmer the Impaler, right? The fact that you can access the DLC, where when you find Miquella, and Miquella's body is in that rotted cocoon down in the Mohg's Blood Palace and stuff like that. So basically, we were discussing all of that in detail, lots of hype. And by the way, if you put it into perspective, the entire segment was hype. My entire border for Wednesday was Elden Ring. In fact, if I could just bring it up quickly, let me find it. Well, now, of course, I can't find it because I want to do it fast. Now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. This was my border on Wednesday. Now, if you don't think that I'm hyped for this DLC and I'm positive about it, why would I make my whole border characters from FromSoft games with Elden Ring at the top? If you're not even aware, which you might not be, Elden Ring was my runner-up for Game of the Year when it came out. It was a very close battle that year for what game was going to win Game of the Year for me. I love Elden Ring. I'm pumped. I even said in the podcast on Wednesday, hey, I'm actually going to be playing Elden Ring again in May because we've had a playthrough that we were doing of it last year. It was my second ever run. It was a magic-based run. We had gotten all the way up to the Corrupted Dragon, which is that optional boss, the Lich Dragon or whatever. We had beaten him, but we hadn't gone ahead past that. Basically, we froze after beating the capital city and then beating that Lich Dragon. We didn't continue on because there's other optional stuff to do. We didn't get to the Blood Palace or anything like that yet. But now that we know, that the DLC is coming out June 21st, hey, now we have opportunity to say, let's maybe pick up the Elden Ring second run in May. Let's finish it up, or at least get close to the end and get to the Blood Palace. Let's beat Mohg with this new magic build, and then let's get set up for the DLC. And the other thing that we actually did, I praised Elden Ring, saying, this is a good game because you could respec whenever you want. So let's say we start this DLC and the magic build's feeling overpowered, or maybe immediately you find a new weapon and you want to try to use it, you could just go back and respec and use it. That's a great thing about this game, right? So I'm under the impression that most of the things I said about the Elden Ring DLC on Wednesday were very, very positive, right? The one thing that was a question mark for me was the price. It's a $40 DLC. That's the most expensive ever expansion for a FromSoft game, or I should say a Elden Ring, a Soulsborne style game. And in previous iterations, if you looked at the price of DLCs that they had released, I think the most expensive one had been like 20. Don't quote me on that because I might be wrong, and usually the DLCs would be around 10 to 15 hours long. So I'm thinking, man, if this DLC is $40, you've got to think it's probably going to be pretty lengthy. Like if the original game was $70, well, if it was 60, I can't remember, and the original game was, 80 to 100 hours long, then you would think that this DLC would probably minimum be 40 hours long, right? Maybe even longer than that, right? But again, my question was, I don't know. I'm curious, how long this DLC will be. Hopefully it's not a ripoff. Hopefully it's not, because we realize there's so much hype for this DLC that we're going to charge whatever we want, right? Now, I know for a fact that Elden Ring has been very inexpensive to buy. I just don't think it's been the digital version, but I know that Elden Ring's been inexpensive to buy because I've seen copies of it listed online for very cheap, like 10 or 20 bucks, okay? But what happens is these digital marketplaces overinflate the price of the games and never drop them. So during the actual show, I attempted to go into the store and see what's the price, and I couldn't figure it out, and people revealed, it's still 40 bucks. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a lot 2 years later to be charging 40 bucks for this game, all right? But actually, if you look online, you could get copies used for like 10, 20 bucks. I've seen it actually like clearance on sale online for like 10, 20 bucks new, but it depends on the time of year and where you're buying it from, okay? But anyway, so this is what we talked about on the show on Wednesday. Very, very positive. I'm excited for this DLC. It looks great to me, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm already making plans to return to Elden Ring in May because of it. So that's where we left it, right? So yesterday, as you know, I check comments that are coming in on my videos from time to time. I have to approve a bunch of them. And I start to notice a pattern. All of a sudden, I start seeing a bunch of really negative comments coming in on my podcast from yesterday. I'm like, what is going on? Where are all these negative comments coming from? All right. And they're all around the same topic. Okay. You are misinformed about the Elden Ring DLC. Why are you spreading mass information about the Elden Ring DLC? What is this hot take that you have about the Elden Ring DLC? It's completely wrong. You're an old dinosaur who doesn't know what he's talking about, and you're just trying to create clickbait. What? So I went back and I looked at the video. The title of the video is like huge gaming news, Elden Ring DLC. It doesn't say Elden Ring DLC sucks. Elden Ring DLC is a ripoff. It doesn't say any of that. It's actually a very positive titling of the video. If you actually look at the description of the video, there's timestamps. It'll tell you directly where to start watching my segment about the Elden Ring DLC. Okay? So there's really no excuse for someone to be misinformed about what's said in the podcast. It doesn't have a clickbait title that's erroneous or negative for the sake of getting people to click on it. And you can easily access that segment of the show by looking at the timestamp in the description. And so I'm like, I'm really confused. So I continue to read the comments. And it's so ridiculous. It's like, so you're slamming the Elden Ring DLC for being $40, but how dare you slam a DLC that's 60 gigabytes in size, the size of the entirety of the map of Limgrave, DLC with 10 boss fights, 8 new weapons, blah, 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 and it keeps going on. And all of the comments are kind of like saying this now. And I'm not saying one or two. There's like dozens of comments are coming in like this. And I'm thinking to myself, what happened? I'm like, I think I know what happened. Someone, of course, probably one of my idiotic haters, probably posted up an out of context clip or reference to my podcast. Basically, maybe taking the one segment where I was speculating and saying, man, I hope it's worth $40 because it could be a ripoff. Maybe they're going to just overcharge for it because you've been waiting for so long and they know there's so much hype. Now, that was one tiny moment of speculation amongst a giant segment of my podcast that was incredibly positive about this DLC. But how much do you want to bet that's the clip that was taken? And likely they went to, like, for example, what do you call it? They probably went to like a Reddit or something, right? Like a fan Reddit or something like that and posted it up there. So basically, these are people who are like adamantly looking to defend their game against people who slander it. Okay? Now, I'm not the biggest fanboy of Elden Ring. I'm a fan. I was very fair to the game when it came out. I had a ton of very positive things to say about it when it came out. I mean, it was my most played game of the year. Yes, I put more hours into Elden Ring in 2022 than any other game that year, including multiplayer games. I still played Elden Ring more. All right. It was my runner-up for game of the year. But I did have some criticisms of it. I think I have the right to fairly criticize the game, and I feel like I did fairly criticize it when it came out. I really don't feel like I was overly unfair to it. I just thought that there was a lot of things that could have been improved. That's not the point of this video, so I don't need to list them here. You understand? You can watch my review of the game that I made in 2022 if you want to hear those. But basically, to me, like, I'm like, so what really happened, right? And exactly, Agent Coop says you even started a second run. How could anyone say there's Elden Ring hate on this channel? But again, this is exactly the situation I live in. You guys got to understand, especially those of you who maybe are newer comers here, and you ask questions such as, why do so many people hate Darkside Phil? This is why. Because completely out of my power, completely out of the realm of anything that I've done wrong or can control, people always misrepresent me in the eyes of the public. And they'll say that I did things I didn't do. They'll say I said things I didn't say. They'll take things out of context, right? They'll take rage moments from me playing a night of fighting games where maybe twice I rage, and they'll say that was the whole stream, right? That's what they do. And so how do you combat that? When, sadly, people on the internet are so willing to become like this big defense force for the games that they're massive fans of, and they don't do any research. Because in reality, all these people that came to the video and watched it and attacked it in the comments, because the video now has like over 1,300 views. Just so you guys know, my podcast typically gets 300 to 500 views a day. That's it. If it's a more important day, maybe up to 1,000. This one obviously has big inflated views by the hundreds. So someone posted it somewhere and people came over to attack it negatively, right? So where did this come from, right? I hate to say it, people on the internet are far too leaning towards being so into defending things they like for no good reason, all right? You don't need to defend Elden Ring. Everyone knows it's good, right? I don't think everyone's going to sit here and say, wow, Elden Ring is terrible. Who's going to say that? It's objectively good. It may not be everyone's favorite game, but it's still objectively good. You don't need to go defend it, especially on a podcast like mine. So, you know, I don't get a ton of views. I'm not a popular guy. No one's really listening to my opinions as a revelation of something they didn't realize before. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't even make much sense to me that this would be a big thing. And I don't understand why people fall for it either. Because it's a trick, is what it is. It's, oh, you fell into the black hole of hating on Darkside Phil because Philman tricked you into thinking he said something he didn't do. Because in truth, the things that, again, the comments people were leaving on the podcast don't even make sense. They're acting like I don't like Elden Ring. If you actually just watched the podcast, you would know I do. I say right in the podcast, I'm doing a second run, can't wait to get back into it, so many positives, excited to jump back in. How could you think I hate the game? Or I'm misrepresenting the game in a negative light on purpose for clickbait views? What clickbait views did I get? I don't even understand what they're talking about. But the thing that really kills me, okay, is a lot of the things that people reference to say, oh, you were wrong, is information that wasn't publicly available when I did my podcast on Wednesday. Right now, it's 11:26 a.m. This podcast starts between 11:10 a.m. At 11:10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 21st of February, none of the information about this DLC that people are using to reference and say, oh, you're wrong, was available. No one knew it was 60 gigabytes in size. No one knew the map would be the size of Limgrave from the original game. No one knew there were 10 bosses. No one knew there were 8 new weapons. No one knew anything. This came out in an interview with Miyazaki later in the day. I think it was IGN, but don't quote me on that. I think it was. But it came out, and then it's like, wow, this is all awesome, positive information about the DLC, and it literally answers all the questions that we had about it. So now I'm even more sold on this DLC. If you're telling me it's going to be a minimum of the size of Limgrave. Oh, by the way, this is what sells it for me. Miyazaki outright said in the interview, this has tons of legacy dungeons. The major focus of the DLC is legacy dungeons. Like, that's what they worked on. Now, what was my favorite part of Elden Ring? The legacy dungeons. I wasn't really having too much fun in the open world. I felt the open world after, you know, maybe Limgrave and what's the name of the magical area? I've already forgotten. And of course, I did like the capital city. But after you get through those areas, right? I felt like it was just kind of too redone, especially that whole final third of the game in the frozen area at the Land of the Giants. I didn't like that at all, okay? My favorite part was going into a dungeon that felt like it was Dark Souls or Bloodborne. Those were my favorite parts. They were hand curated by the developers of the game to be interesting, challenging experiences. I loved those. Give me more legacy dungeons, give me less open world, and give me less of the very randomly generated boring dungeons, right? They're not randomly generated, but they're ones that are very repetitive and boring, the ones that look like the crypts or the caves or whatever. I didn't really like those. Give me the legacy dungeons. And Miyazaki outright said there's a lot of these legacy dungeons in the DLC. You are preaching to the choir now, like that's exactly what I wanted. So now I'm even more pumped for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC when it comes in June. Like, I feel like this is a feature of my year now. It went from being, okay, I'm interested, but I wonder what it's going to be, to, wow, now I'm actually really excited, okay? But again, why are people coming to my podcast telling me I'm misrepresenting the game, I'm hating on the game, this is a hot take for clickbait views, and leaving dozens of negative comments, voting the video down, and I'm like, what is happening? You tell me. It's nonsense, all right? And at least I'm happy now that we could talk about it today and actually talk about more of the positives about the DLC, because I'm excited for it. But why does it have to be the result of a bunch of people coming and crapping all over me? Because you know what it is? Now there's another 500 to 1,000 people who hate me on the internet, right? They outright think I'm a jerk because I crapped all over Elden Ring. They didn't even bother to watch my podcast and see what I said. Someone told them I said it, linked it, and they just went right to the video and left a nasty comment. What kind of a mentality is that? What kind of a person can you be to judge someone before you've even said what they've said? You didn't even bother to click play to see what was said in the podcast, because there's no way you could watch that segment and come out of the other side of that podcast thinking that I hate Elden Ring and I'm crapping all over it for clickbait. It was not even present in the video at all, right? So anyway, I got it out of the way. Listen, I'm excited for the Elden Ring DLC. Really, I like all the additional information. 10 new bosses, that's a ton. 8 new weapons. I'm sure in those 8 weapons, there'll be 1 or 2 I want to try, so I might respec during the DLC and try them. That's awesome. Legacy dungeons are right up my alley. And if you remember Limgrave, that's the starting area of Elden Ring. That's the main area. There's 2 southern island areas to it that are optional, right? To the east, you go further and you get towards Caelid, but that's still considered Limgrave. And then there's the entire castle. That's at least, at a minimum, 20 hours of content, just the overworld. Now, if you're talking, there's dungeons and things in there. Remember, there's the underground well, right? There's that. And if there's more of those, just think about that. This is probably going to be 40 hours. That's great then. If it really is $1 an hour, I'm okay with that. Give me 40 hours of content for the $40 DLC price. I'll be very pleased. So, to me, everything is fine, is sounding great about this to me. Like, I really am excited and I cannot wait. I now feel like, I now really feel like we're going to be in a situation where this is a feature of the year. Coming back to Elden Ring in May to continue my magic run. Not necessarily finishing, because do we really need to go back to the Hallig Tree and do that with the magic run? We don't really need to. We can if we want to, but for us, it's just getting all the other content done and getting to the Blood Palace and beating Mohg, which is going to be a challenge in itself. Doing all that with the magic run is really the focus. So doing that by, say, the end to mid-June, and then the DLC coming out June 21st, you know I'm all about it, right? So very excited for that. And I hope that you guys will join me for that fun later in the year, all right? But as for these people who are misinformed, all I can say is please do more research before you come crap on someone. Like, I'm literally, of course, my first reaction is, oh, this is just a bunch of trolls. But then as I start to read more of the comments, I realize it's not. These are people who actually really like Elden Ring, and they're pissed at me for something I didn't do. Nothing I ever said. I'm really head-scratching. Like, why would you be so adamant to jump down someone's throat and defend something when you don't even know what they said? You just immediately go into defense mode before even watching the podcast you're commenting on. That's pretty insane. Anyway, that's the case. That's what happened. That's out of the way. All right. Wednesday was a great streaming day. Great progress in Baldur's Gate 3. We'll pick up with that today. And the night stream was Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. We did a ton of side questing, a lot of fun stuff there. Continuing on with that later in the week. Really nothing to recap that much from Wednesday because it was just a solid streaming day of RPG stuff. ladies and gentlemen, before we get to game news, before we get to the schedule, I think it's time for us to do a little segment that I like to call Phil's Day Off. Let's talk about what I did yesterday on my day off, shall we? Because we actually have some interesting and positive updates to give you guys, all right? First of all, yesterday was a very busy day where I was absolutely running around doing errands all day long, okay? As you can see, I got a haircut was one of the errands that I did out of many. We had to restock the house because we had actually been out of a lot of commodity products, like paper products and things like that. So we had to go like Costco and many other things. So we were out and about for a very large portion of the day. And it was tiring to do that. But the weather was nice. It was actually sunny and cool. So we had some good weather for it. While we were out, is there anything notable to really mention from when we were out? Just a couple of things. First thing, we just happened to be at the local mall because we were going to actually eat dinner there. And we happened to just walk into Sears. Okay? Now, for those who don't know, Sears, or Sears Roebuck and Company, is one of the longest running department stores in the United States of America. At one point, they were huge. They were synonymous with like the big shopping experiences in the United States. You had Sears, you had Macy's, you know, those kind of ginormous department stores. And some people in chat, very rightly so, are saying, Sears is still open? Yes and no. Okay? Yes and no. Right? Basically, Sears is on its way out and going out of business. All right? But there's 3 locations left, and my local mall has one of them. So my wife and I hadn't been in Sears in like a couple of years, actually. I think last time we were in Sears, I think we were looking for slippers for me in like the fall because my slippers had worn out, and we know that department stores are sometimes places that seasonally have them. And we had gone in there, and even then, like 2 years ago when we had gone in there, they were massively understaffed. They barely had, like, the product was very disorganized, right? The store was in shambles. So we go in there just on a whim to see what is Sears like today. Wow, is all I have to say. So we go into this Sears, and at the door is exercise equipment. Now, this doesn't make sense. This is the ground level of the mall, where any department store on ground level is supposed to have all their clothing and everything, you know, their high-end products. You walk in, it's just a bunch of exercise equipment. Huh? And then we look past that, and there's appliances. But then we look past that, and there's one row of shoes. And then we look over here, and there's some clothes. And then over here, we see jewelry. On the back wall, we see tool chests. We're like, what? Like, what is going on? So we actually walk further into the store, and we realize half the store is closed off, roped off, and completely empty. They used to have a big shoe department in the back. It's gone. They've blocked the entire department off. It doesn't exist anymore. The whole left-hand side of the store is taped off with that yellow hazard tape saying, do not cross. Like, holy shit. The whole kiosk where you used to check out and customer service removed from the store doesn't exist anymore. Okay? Like, wow, what on earth? So we're like, well, I wonder what's on the other floors. We walk up to the escalator. The escalator up is closed, broken, and they're not going to fix it. The only way to get from floor to floor in the store is to use an old rickety elevator. And I was like, well, I would like to use the rickety elevator, but Kat actually looked at it and was like, I really don't want to use it. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I'm actually terrified that elevator is going to break on the way up or down because the way this store looks, like it looks like this is a store on life support. Like it's going to die any second. And I don't want to go in there and be the story on the news that people got stuck in this year's elevator. And I was like, all right, well, I guess we won't then. Because I wanted to actually see if there was stuff on the other floor. Because the thing is, if clothes, shoes, tool chests, appliances, and exercise equipment are all on one floor, what else could be in there? I know that they have, like, housewares and, like, bedding. So that's what I was thinking. Like, maybe there's housewares, bedding, and maybe, like underwear and stuff, like, on one other floor. And that's it. There used to be 3 floors. Sears used to be, like, the one-stop shop. Back in the day, they had everything. I mean, anything you could think of for your house was at Sears. Even electronics. They would sell electronics, games, consoles, stuff like that. Music systems, TVs, you know, all the appliances in your home. Yeah, the tools and stuff like that. Housewares. You can buy all your stuff for your kitchen in there. everything for your bathroom in there, your bedding, everything. Like they literally had everything in there. Lawnmowers, yeah, they had everything you could think of. It was everything at Sears, big prominent company, and they somehow managed to run themselves so far into the ground. They're not coming back. I mean, that was like, it literally reminds you of like going to like a hospital, right? And going to see people who are sadly are on the end of their life and they're on life support, just sitting there saying their last goodbyes to people. That's what it feels like walking into the Sears. I was like, oh my God. Like, I can't believe it. Because, again, I've gone to Sears my whole life. When I was growing up, I would go to Sears with my parents, and it was a vibrant store full of stuff. I was like, what the fuck happened? How did they fall that far? They used to have the Sears Wish Book. Does anyone remember the Sears Wish Book at all? This used to be at the end of the year. Sears would send out a catalog to your house, and it would have all the awesome products that were available for sale at Sears in one thing where it lists them all. And the whole purpose of this catalog was that you and your family members would go through the catalog and select things you're interested in as a Christmas present. So you would give it to your family members, but also other people in your family would do it, and you would exchange wish lists. They had to call it the Wish Book wish list. I did it every year. So my mom would give me the wish book and say, well, anything in here you like for Christmas? I was like, I want this action figure. I'd be interested in this game. Now, the thing was, you didn't know half the time what the stuff was. It was like some photographer would come in and like film the action figures posing and stuff. And the games, forget it. I actually distinctly remember games would have the wrong screenshots. It would be like, oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it would be a screenshot of like Mega Man. I was like, what the hell is that? So obviously they didn't have the best editors or whatever, people that weren't into all the stuff they were selling. But they had everything. They had like, again, things that you would not think. Guns. There were guns in that. There were, knives. Like things that kids shouldn't see were all in this wish book. It was just for the whole family. Everyone would select what they want for Christmas. And you could either mail order it or you could go to the physical Sears store near you and buy it as a Christmas present. This was part of Americana. This was a major part of American culture, a tradition everyone was doing around Christmas every year. And now Sears is dead. It's like, how do you go from being that prominent, that you're actually a part of most people's American Christmas lives and traditions, to not existing in the span of like 30 years? That's wild to me. Like, what a horrible mismanagement. If anything, it just shows they did not know how to hang with the internet age. As soon as the internet came out and everyone started doing stuff online, they just, that was the end of that. But anyway, so that was eye-opening and shocking for us to see that. For dinner, we had some ramen. We hadn't had ramen in a really long time, so we each got a bowl of ramen. I got they called it rich chicken ramen, I think it was called. So the broth was a lot more savory, and it had amazingly delicious dark meat chicken pieces in it. It was ridiculously good. That's probably, out of all the ramen that I've had since I lived out here in the last 10 years, that was probably the best one. So I'm probably going to continue to get that style of ramen in the future. I always used to get like the one that has the slice of pork in it, which is fine. But this chicken was super outstanding, how delicious it was. It had really absorbed the flavors of the broth of the ramen. So probably going to get that. No, not in a cup. This is a gourmet restaurants. There's a lot of restaurants out here that do ramen, because where we live is just outside of Seattle in Washington State. This is a hotbed of Asian culture in the United States. All the Asian cultures, when they come to the U.S., they come through our local airport because we're the closest to Asia. So a lot of them just stayed here. They came and said, we're just going to settle here. So we've got all these different kinds of Asian cuisines and things, Vietnamese, Filipino, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, all those are right here. And we have a few really good ramen places to go to. And we just happened to have an amazing one yesterday. It was so good. The only other thing really of note while we were out, we saw not one, not two, but 3 different car accidents. And that's like unprecedented. Like maybe every once in a while around here we'll see like one. One person looked like they had completely driven off the road into a ditch. I don't know why, because there was no accident. They had just driven off the road into a ditch. And so the cops showed up with a tow truck to try to get their car out, but their car was really like wedged in. I was like, dude, I don't know how they're going to get that out in one piece. That thing's probably going to fall apart. And then going one way down this road, when we were leaving our house, we actually saw someone rear-ended someone else. And then when we were coming back the other way, we saw that someone had also rear-ended someone else on the other side of the street. Like, what happened here? I don't know what happened because it wasn't, like, you would think, oh, is it like a rainy day, a bad weather day? It was pure sun all day. So I have no clue. Something was in the air. People weren't paying attention for some reason, and there was tons of car accidents. But outside of that, when we got home, and we had unpacked the million things we had shopped for, like at Costco and everything, basically my wife is looking for another game to play because the next game she wants to play is Dragon's Dogma 2. And so a game just hit Game Pass. I don't know if you guys are aware, Tales of Arise just hit Game Pass. So she actually tried it for a couple of hours. She's down in love with it, but she doesn't hate it either. One of the annoying things is that it has this new mechanic called, like, cure points. And it's so odd. Just listen to this. It's an RPG, typical dungeon crawler style RPG, but it's action-based combat rather than turn-based. You use these cure points to, number one, cure party members in combat. Makes sense. But you also use cure points to put out fires to access alternate parts of the dungeon with treasure and stuff in it. What? Why? And how does that make any sense in any kind of an RPG perspective? You're using your cure points that you should be using to heal your party members to put out a fire to get an optional chest. And then the problem is if you do that, now you have less cure points to heal your party members, and when you're out, you're literally out. You have to get through the rest of the dungeon without being able to cure in combat until you get to a point in the game where they'll give it back to you. You don't restore cure points by leveling up. So you can level up 5 times in the dungeon and you still can't cure during combat. You can cure out of combat if you use items, but you can only use those out of combat, supposedly. From what I've seen anyway. Maybe I'm wrong and you can use them during combat, but from what I saw, you can only use them out of combat. So I'm just kind of like scratching my head. Doesn't that take the fun out of the RPG dungeon crawling? Like, the whole point of a dungeon is you explore it fully, you fight all the enemies, but if you do that, you run out of cure points, now you can't cure. How are you supposed to keep exploring? How are you supposed to complete the dungeon if you can't cure your party members? Why did they make it like that? It just seems like a really unnecessary, annoying thing they put in the game to make it artificially harder, when in reality, it's not tougher, it's just really fucking stupid and annoying. I was scratching my head about it. She basically got all the way up to that first boss, Ballsack. That's his name. His name's like Lord Ballsack or something like that. And she tried fighting him a few times, but he was like one-shotting her companion. And so she's thinking she's going to go back and grind a little more and then go back to him and try again. Luckily, right outside of his boss room, there was a full restore point. And I think you could go back and go grind in the dungeon against the other enemies before you go fight him again. So I think that's what she's going to do. But anyway, like, let me put it this way. It wasn't bad, but it really wasn't anything to write home about. What game is this? Tales of Arise. It reminded me of the old Tales games. Like, I had played Tales of Vesperia back in the day a ton, and it definitely reminded me of that, just with some weird changes that felt like it wasn't as good. Like, it actually felt like more annoying to me watching her play this game. I was like, this doesn't feel as good as Tales of Vesperia because of these annoying changes they made to the formula. But anyway, you can restore items. You can use items in combat. Oh, so we didn't even see that as a menu option. You can restore CP in and out of combat with items. Well, she doesn't have any. Like, we checked, she has a bunch of HP restoring items. I don't think she had any CP restoring items. So, I don't know what you're supposed to do there. I just don't understand why you're using your cure points to put out a fire to explore the dungeon. What the fuck is that? You ever played any game where it's like, oh, you want to explore the dungeon? Use all your MP to do it. Huh? Who made that? Like, who thought of that, right? Anyway. So, basically, that was what we did today. We kind of hung out, playing that together. I think, the other part of the Phil's Day Off segment. So this is kind of cool. So, as you guys know, my wife and I have done some co-op recently, right? We actually played the Dondoko Island sim game in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for about 5 hours together. And we did what we wanted to do with it, luckily. We got the money we needed. I'm good now for the rest of the playthrough. We don't have to go back to it. Quite frankly, it wasn't as fun as we thought it was going to be, so we're done with that. So we've been looking into a couple of things. First of all, we're trying to find some other games. We're trying to find some other games to play together for co-op. And we looked into a few that you guys suggested. The first one that many people were suggesting is this game called Overcooked. All right? And so we looked into it. We actually watched a group of people playing it together. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It doesn't look very good to us. Like, Overcooked is a game where you play as chefs, or sous chefs, and you're in this little mini kitchen, and essentially the entire game feels like a mini game, where what you're doing is grabbing ingredients, chopping them up, cooking them, combining them into a dish, and then serving said dish, taking the dirty dish back, washing it, wash, rinse, repeat, and everyone is working together co-op in order to do this. So we watched actually people doing it 4-player, okay? And basically, the first time, like the first stage, you're like, oh, this is interesting. The second stage is like, oh, it's the same ingredients with one extra ingredient, so it's a little bit more complex, and now the stage is moving around, okay? So it's a little bit more elaborate. So we fast forward a few videos. Okay, instead of making soup, now they're making a burger. So it's now a 4-ingredient dish instead of 2. And the stage is moving around a little more. Like, we kept fast forwarding, and every time we watch it, we're like, all right. It's boring. I'm sorry. Like, if you're playing with a group of people and the whole thing is it's micromanagement, it's co-op gameplay, you're probably riveted because you need to be paying attention at every moment to pass the stages. To watch, it is so fucking boring. There's really nothing going on. It's just a bunch of little guys going, hey, put it together, do this, okay. There's no time to talk. There's no time to like have any conversation or elaborate. There's nothing really fun about the gameplay. It's more like rush, get it out. That's it. That's the whole game. And we even fast forwarded to almost that whole, fast forwarding through almost to the end of the first game, because this Overcooked game came out with a collection recently that's 1 and 2 together. And so I do it, and I'm like, it just doesn't look that good at all. It's really, like, I could say, this is the kind of game, right, that if you're playing it and you're engrossed with it with your co-op partners, it's probably fun to play. This is not a game that's fun to watch. And we were outsiders, never having seen the game before. Watching people play it, we were bored to tears. We were like, wow, talk about a game that's fun to play, not to watch. This is exactly the definition of that, okay? In addition, the game absolutely looks like a game for 4 players because the dishes are so complex that you would need to actually have, like, 2 people have to be grabbing the ingredients, preparing them, shoving them off to the next area. Then the next group of people cook and serve, and then the person who's the runner who grabs the dishes, washes them, and gets them back to the beginning. Like, you need to have set people doing each task. If you only have 2 people, now you have to do so much, it's probably way harder, and it wouldn't even be fun. So, we did look into it. We thought maybe it would be good. It does not look fun. It looks very, very boring to watch. We were bored to tears watching it. So we can imagine our audience checking it out. Now, if this were something that was on Game Pass, we would have considered it. It's not. It's $40, and we're like, dropping $40 for something we were bored watching for like 25 minutes is not going to be worth it. So I think that this Overcooked game is just, it's not in the consideration. It just doesn't look very good. Okay? We're looking into other stuff. One of the considerations is that Sackboy game that came out at the launch of PS5. If you remember at the time I skipped it, it was $70 at launch, and I said, there is no effing way I'm paying $70 for any kind of a Sackboy platformer. Essentially, it should have been Little Big Planet 4, but they never made a Little Big Planet 4. They just called it this instead because it was a different company that made this. So, the way I see it, maybe we'll eventually do that because it is a co-op action platformer style game. That's a possibility. Not sure yet about that. We're looking into it. But there are other things we're looking into as well. But nothing really has honestly jumped out at us yet. We're looking and nothing is like, is this going to be fun to play, but also fun for an audience to watch? It seems like there's some games that would be fun for us to play, but it would not be fun to watch because the games are boring. Then there's some things, right, that maybe you guys would be more interested in seeing us do, but we're not interested in doing them. Like we keep telling you guys, we're not interested in that It Takes Two game. We're just not. Okay? And I'm just going to say this because some people have completely the wrong mentality about this. Kat is my wife. For her to come in here and do some nice co-op stuff with us is just a nice added bonus. She wants to add to our experience together, you know, you guys as an audience and me as a broadcaster or content creator, correct? Kat is not an employee. She's not forced to come in here to earn a paycheck and to play something she doesn't like or that we're not going to have fun doing just to pump out video content for you as a product to make money. That's not the point of her coming in here. Do you understand? And I think some people are very much misunderstanding that. They're saying, well, why do you need to like what you're playing? Just get her butt in there and do co-op and pump out the videos like everyone else on the internet. You missed the point. I'm not like everyone else on the internet. I'm not forcing myself to do shit to make a paycheck. The point is the love of gaming, doing things that are meaningful, things that we're going to enjoy and have a great experience together that you can remember because it wasn't just us pumping out a fucking video to make money. You understand that? I could have been doing that for years, playing every little viral game, doing every little thing. That's the opposite of the mentality of me making content. And certainly, it's the opposite of her coming in here to do any kind of content with me. She has no desire to just force herself to come. I mean, there's millions of games we could play right now co-op that we wouldn't be interested in. We'd be bored with within like a couple of hours. And yeah, we could force ourselves to do it, but you're not going to see us happy. You're going to see us kind of annoyed, right? Is that what you want? Annoyance in a video? Because we're playing something we don't like? I mean, what's the point of that? We're not going to be in here like happy actors. Oh, every game we play is so cheery and great because we love all games because we're pumping out fake content for you so you'll give us money. We're not doing that. Do you see? We're trying to make real content. So understand, if we're going to make content together, it has to be something we're really interested in. All right? We're not interested in half the games that are from the past co-op games that people are all... It Takes Two, not really interested. Sorry. You know, maybe years ago it would have been, but, you know, today it's today now, and we're just not interested in that. Okay? So we're going to continue to look for stuff to do, and we're going to give you updates on it when we find things. But you have to understand that. And I'm going to say something very honestly now, and if you take offense, I can't help it. If you think you are entitled to have my wife come in here and make co-op content with me, right? And you're upset that she's not just going to come in here and play anything she doesn't like, you're pretty fucked up in the head. People on the internet are not just entitled to make the content you want immediately, whether or not they're enjoying themselves. That's ridiculous. Some of the comments I've seen on videos, just fucking make content and shut up. Be grateful anyone wants to see your content. Well, yeah, but I want to make content that we like. Again, Kat is not an employee. Do you understand that? She's not getting a paid employee. She's not coming in here earning a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? You want to know an honest difference? Here's the difference. John Rambo technically was a paid employee. Back in the day when I used to do co-op with him, even if we played games we didn't really like and we were suffering through them, it's because we were making money doing it. He literally was someone who came to my place every week and received pay for what he was doing. He was not my wife. That's a very different experience. Do you understand? So that's why I think people are thinking, we used to do co-op 10 years ago and used to play every horrible game. So why don't you just do that now with your wife? Because that's not the point. That's not why we want to do it. It's different. It's a different experience. Do you understand? And I hope that you get that. All right? I really do. But some people don't. They just pump out the content. Well, no. We're gonna make it make sense. All right? We're gonna make it so that when we finally get to the point where we're going to do co-op again of something we both want to play, hopefully it's something that we're enjoying, you're enjoying watching us play. Also, hopefully there's some kind of an aspect where we can interact with you guys. Like that Overcooked game, there would be no time we could talk with you guys. That entire game is 100% must be micromanaged, must be played every moment, focus on the game. That's how it is. It's like this crazy, attention-centric game where you need to every moment be doing something right. If you flub one thing, you fail. Right? So that's really not the kind of game that I feel is going to work. All right? So, all right, Ad the Gamer, I've had enough of you. Really, I've had enough of you and your toxic attitude. So if you want to apologize to me later, you can come back. But for now, just leave and don't come back. Okay. So, that's the deal with that. Now, there is a positive update. All right? Since the time when we did our Dondoko Island co-op, one of the problems that we ran into was the audio, and what I mean by that is, basically, I have one pair of neck phones. By the way, this is the new pair of neck phones. I should call this out. I did buy a replacement pair of neck phones. If you remember, these were breaking in January. I had them for about 2.5 years, and they were not charging anymore. So I bought a new pair, and this is the replacement pair. I've been using them for a couple of weeks now. I've completely forgotten to mention that. So this is a new pair of Hori neck phones, okay? So when Kat was in here to do that co-op, she was using these neck phones. I was actually really enjoying them. She was like, wow, they're comfy. They sound pretty good. So she was using them while I didn't have any audio, okay? So basically we were looking for a solution, and after having seen that, a fan contacted us and said, I liked your co-op in Dondoko. It's a shame you didn't both have the audio. I'd like to fix that. So unprompted, unasked for, a fan got us another pair of neck phones. So now when we go to play our co-op, whatever it may be in the future, because we don't know what the next co-op will be, we're each going to have a pair of neck phones to wear, which is really cool. Okay? So there you go. Why not buy an aux splitter? We did buy an aux splitter. You just stop talking out of your butt. These people, I swear to God. You weren't here for the stream, were you? We had an aux splitter. My wife has earbuds. She put in the earbuds, but they're noise-canceling earbuds. She couldn't hear anything. She's like, well, this doesn't work. And we don't have another pair of headphones in the house that would work with the aux splitter. Now we do. So now we'll each have a pair of these to wear when we do content moving forward. Okay? Pretty cool. So thank you to the fan who donated that. You know who you are. You didn't ask for a shout-out. I'm assuming you probably don't want the public attention because of trolling. But thank you so much. So now we have an extra pair. And when we do co-op again, and here's the other cool thing. Even though we're not going to be doing co-op all the time, I now have a backup pair of neck phones. So if these break in a year or two, I'll have a backup pair as well. So this is incredibly useful. Thank you so much to the fan who donated those. And now I knocked my receiver off of the table. I put that back up there. Okay. Not really a receiver, it's more of a decoder. A surround sound Dolby decoder for my headphones. So, okay. So there you go. So that's what's going on the Phil's day off because they showed up yesterday. So that's why I wanted to add that to that segment because actually they showed up yesterday. And that's very much appreciated to the person who donated those. Thank you so much. So now, essentially, we're good to go with the entirety of co-op. We just have to find something we want to play. But, like, the audio, we kind of figured out, put the microphone between us. We got the different pop guards so we can see the chat. We'll each have neck phones so we can both hear. We got the audio splitter. We just got to find a game now. And that's what we're working on. Okay. So now, let's briefly go through the schedule for the week. And then we'll go right into gaming news. Because we have some gaming news to cover today outside of the Elden Ring DLC. There's a few other things that actually happened during my day off to talk about. Fair enough? Okay. Schedule-wise. Today, I'm back from break, obviously. Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3 continues. We have just arrived at... essentially at Baldur's Gate. Like, we're right outside of Baldur's Gate. And so I'm excited to get inside of Baldur's Gate, but of course there's apparently other quests to do as well. So here's the thing. People were telling me if you're going to do this part of the game, you need to have Jaheira and Will in your party. You've got two critical things coming up that are going to determine what's going to happen in Baldur's Gate like right away, these missions. So you should have these characters in your party. So I put them into the party, but when I did that, of course I haven't used Jaheira at all, and I haven't used some of these characters in a while. So I just rushed through a build with Jaheira, and people were like, oh, make her a dual-class barbarian and all of this. So I did, but we didn't use her yet, right? So we finished our stream, and immediately I get flooded with comments. What are you, crazy? You made Jaheira a barbarian? What are you, stupid? You got to fix that. So actually, someone sent me a really detailed, like, build that we can do. And that's cool. A big detailed build, and I think we're gonna do first thing today is respec Jaheira to be this detailed build. I'm not sure what it is. I think it is a druid build. I don't know how to respec. If you guys can tell me how to respec a character, I would love to do that. But yeah, like I should be able to respec her, and then she'll be playable, and then we'll continue on with the Act 3 stuff today on stream. Okay? Tonight on the late stream, it's Friday Night Fights, more Tekken 8, and more Casey Mitsu, or the Casey Jones version of Yotsumitsu that I created on Monday. You know, I really like Tekken, and I am disappointed because I like it so much. I want to play it more. I'm craving it during the week, and I'm only playing it twice a week. And it is disappointing to me. I wish that you guys liked it more. I wish that it had caught on like Street Fighter 6 did. It totally hasn't now. At this point, I'm lucky to get viewers on it at all. some of the streams, like Friday Night Fights usually does okay, but some of the other streams are dead. And it's like, wow, like you guys really aren't into Tekken at all, which is crazy. I love this game. I'm actually liking it more and more the more I play it. And I wish I could play more of it. Although, again, it's hilarious because as I told you, I get comments on videos. I swear to God, I got a comment on a video the other day. It was like 5 paragraphs, and it was something to this effect. I'll paraphrase. Man, you really got to get better at Tekken. You suck. You're not implementing side steps all the time and not using sidestep counters to interact this and that. Man, you're barely parrying and you're not parrying and doing this. You don't even know how to break throws and this and that and this and that. And basically, it's like 5 paragraphs of harsh criticism of how my gameplay of Tekken 8 sucks, right? And it's funny because I'm like watching my gameplay. I'm like, so every time I play this game, I win more than I lose. Every time I play this game, I'm improving my gameplay with whatever character I'm using. I literally am playing this game 4 hours a week. 4 hours a week, okay? Anyone who actually is trying to get good at Tekken focuses on this game like 40 hours a week. Like, seriously, they say pro players, like, you got to play at least 5 hours a day in order to maintain the skill level that you're at, right? I'm playing it 4 hours a week, you know, and I'm just trying to get better at it with the little time that I have. I'm studying. I'm watching matchup videos. Like, I actually watched 2 high-ranked Yoshimitsu's play last night, and I learned a couple interesting things that I'm going to try to implement in my gameplay today that I think might be pretty neat. I don't know if I'll be able to. One of them is that when you're near the wall, you can do a different combo that actually pins them against the wall and gives you a little bit more, like, wall crush damage, which is kind of interesting. So I might try that. Or other variations, like things like a stance change that's quick and seems to catch people. So I might try a couple of those things today. I don't know how effective I'll be, but, you know, I'm literally trying to study or everything. You know what I'm saying? So, and I read the comments, I'm like, so these, not to say that what they're criticizing me for isn't valid. I would argue they're right. If you get really good at sidestepping and implementing sidesteps into your gameplay, you're going to be better. If you learn how to counter the throws and break them easily, that's going to make you better. But the things they're recommending are for someone who's like playing Tekken 8 every day and striving to improve to go, you know what the big goal is for everyone now? The blue ranks. Because the blue ranks are, I think, the highest ranks before, like, God tier. I think it goes like red. I think it's like red, black, blue, or it's like red, purple, black, blue, yellow, or something like that. Like, that's the progression of colors in their online rankings. And so I'm in, like, barely red. I think some of the characters I'm not even in red yet. Right? And some I'm in red, some I'm not. So I'm way below any level where I'd be implementing like high-end tactics and things. The things they're recommending are for someone like who they're growing for blue. I'm pushing for blue, so I should be implementing the side steps and this and the text and this and that. I'm not even to that level. I'm trying to learn basics, right, with the characters I'm using. And the stuff they're recommending is like, so how did you not master Phil? I mean, it's funny. Here, this is the best part. Okay. You can look at the numbers on my videos. I have played a grand total of 22 hours of online multiplayer of Tekken since it came out. Tekken 8. 22 hours. Now, I want you to think about that. If you were a pro playing 5 hours a day, you would have done that in 4 days. Tekken 8 has been out for a month. Well, almost a month. We're coming up on the month, right? So I've played essentially less than a third as much as the pros who are actually trying to get good at the game, but you're going to yell at me and tell me that my gameplay sucks because I'm not implementing the top strategies of pro players to Tekken. Right? I just don't know where people come with these criticisms, right? For the most part, I love Tekken 8. I want to play more of it. I wish to play more of it to get better at it. I hope that I will. I just don't get to play enough of it. Like tonight, I'm going to play about 2.5 hours of Yoshimitsu. I feel like I'll have great matches and get better. I'll probably have some tough matches. Right now, my problem is lack of character knowledge. Like, I'm fighting a Jin, and I go to sidestep, and he does the Wind God Dragon Fist thing, and it hits me. But I sidestepped, and then I see in the comments, oh, you were supposed to sidestep left, not right, and you were supposed to also sidestep walk. That's how you avoid it. How the hell would I know that? That's like a textbook study answer, right? Like, that's something in school that, like, someone tells you must memorize this answer, right? That's not even something you would just casually discover in gameplay. You would need to know that ahead of time to implement it. So, that's the kind of stuff, like, I don't know what half of the moves are anymore with these characters. I just, I'm fighting a Raven. He's teleporting all over the screen. I've never seen these moves. I don't know if it's a high, a low, a throw, a counter. I don't know what any of this is. So I'm just kind of like flubbing my way through it, trying to get better. And I want to keep playing it. I hope you'll join me tonight for it. I'm sad that I don't play it as much as Street Fighter 6 because I like it on that level right now. I really do. Maybe in a few months I won't. But at this point, I really do like it as much as Street Fighter 6. And honestly, I'm happy I'm taking a break. I feel like if I was still playing Street Fighter 6, I'd be burnt out. Because a lot of people are saying, well, you're going to play Ed in Street Fighter 6? No. I really don't want to. I played the game so much, I'm burnt out on it. And I don't really want to go back to that only a month away from it, go back to it again, to get into it again and be I don't. I would rather play Tekken right now. But I know, sadly, that's not really resonating with most of my audience, and that's sad. So we're going to play it tonight. Hopefully I'll get better with Casey Mitsu, and it should be a good time. If you want to come by, please check out my gameplay of Tekken 8 tonight, okay? Tomorrow, it's going to be more Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth on the late stream. Sunday is React Day, where it's all reacting. The day stream is DSP versus the internet on DSP Reacts, and the night stream will be Retro Replay on DSP Throwback. And at this point, I do think it's time to officially announce our pick for what it will be Sunday night. And quite frankly, there's really no chance at this point. Heavy Rain is in the lead at 42%. The runner-up is Bully with only 29%. We're not going to see a shift in voting in 2 days. So we're doing more Heavy Rain on Sunday night. Last time around, we had just met Noam and Jaden, who is doing the AR investigation on the Wasteland, and we'll continue with that and go from there. So that should be a fun place to pick up from where we had left off last time. So that'll be a fun Sunday night. And then Monday will be Tekken 8. Yes, that's my other Tekken 8 stream for the week. And then Monday night will be more Like a Dragon. And then Tuesday, Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon. So if you do some math here, today, Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, today, Saturday, and Tuesday, all Baldur's Gate 3. We got another 9 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 coming this week. By the end of this week, it'll be 100 hours of Baldur's Gate. Yeah, we'll be over 100 hours into the playthrough. We've also got Saturday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Like a Dragon. It's another 6 hours or more of Like a Dragon. And it's all going to be side questing and story developments. I'm not doing grinding. So we're going to basically be doing lots of advancement in that game. This is my goal, is to get as much advanced in both of these games by the end of this week before Final Fantasy VII comes out. Because I'm off on Wednesday, and then that Thursday the 29th, all day long Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then you're going to see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as the mainstream most days. Maybe one day a week we'll do Baldur's Gate 3 for variety, and I'll announce that ahead of time so those of you who are fans of Baldur's Gate will come by for those streams. But it's going to mostly be Final Fantasy VII right now, okay, just to forewarn everybody. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of time for news. Let's jump into it quickly. No, it's not that I missed the tip. I don't shout out contributions till the end of the podcast because someone said I tipped you, didn't shout it out. I shout out all contributions at the very tail end. So let me get through the news and then we'll get to that segment, okay? And thank you for the support. News story number 1. Mortal Kombat 1 is finally getting cross-play next week. Mortal Kombat 1, which came out in September, is now over 6 months old, has lost about 87% of its player base, is now getting crossplay. Huh? If ever you heard something that was too little too late, I think that would be it. Like, what the hell were they thinking, waiting over 6 months to add a feature they promised would release around launch? They said it's coming around launch. 6 months later? So they also, hand in hand with this announcement, dropped the Peacemaker DLC trailer, which shows John Cena as Peacemaker. I hate the John Cena Peacemaker character. I think it's stupid. I think it's just John Cena in cosplay. I don't see him even as a defined character with a personality. And I saw both the Suicide Squad reboot movie as well as the entire Peacemaker series, and I still don't like the character. It looks terrible, honestly. He's kind of he's crappy animations, honestly. I am not going back to Mortal Kombat 1 to play with Peacemaker. I'm certainly not going back to Mortal Kombat 1 to play crossplay. The game doesn't play well without crossplay. The connections are awful. Usually the average connection is 80 to 100 milliseconds, which is unplayable online for this game. and now they're going to do crossplay. Like, what a joke. If you're interested in Mortal Kombat, congrats if you want to do crossplay. For me, this is a huge non-announcement and a waste of everybody's time. What a shame, because Mortal Kombat at one point was the top premier fighting game in my opinion. Like, that whole Mortal Kombat trilogy of 9, 10, and 11, they were very prominent, and they really dropped the ball, and they are third place behind Street Fighter and Tekken right now for sure. For sure. Next story. Pal World, which I know we haven't talked about now in a couple of weeks because I stopped playing it after 11 hours, has now reached 25 million players. 15 million players bought the game on Steam. 10 million players are playing the game on Xbox, although it's not clear-cut if it's people who bought it or people just playing it on Game Pass, right? 25 million. Yikes. That's so many. Now, listen, again, I get the appeal of the game. I played it for 11 hours. I get it. Personally, I found myself getting bored once we hit the gameplay loop of exactly what it would be. Again, like I said, if you play it with friends, it's probably way more fun. But as for me, these survival games don't last long anyway. I do lose interest in them. So, it is what it is. But wow, what an achievement for an indie studio pumping out a game like that and getting that much popularity. The final news story I want to cover today actually surprised me and could actually, in my opinion, change things. Are you ready for this? I don't know if you heard this one. Supposedly, PC support for the PlayStation VR 2 is coming by the end of this year. I'm going to repeat what I just said. If you buy a PlayStation VR 2, which right now currently only works with PS5, by the end of the year, it's supposed to work on PC. So do you understand what that means? That means you'll be able to play PC VR games on the PSVR 2. So I have a question. If you have a console, right, is it a no-brainer to just buy this device? And also, if you're looking for the absolute most versatile VR device, does it not make sense to buy the PSVR 2? Because you're going to be able to play all the Sony exclusive VR games from PlayStation 5 and also all PC VR games on this thing too. Or am I misunderstanding it? Because the news stories aren't clear, and that's what's kind of pissing me off. I couldn't figure this out. If you could play everything on it, that sounds to me like this is the killer device, right? But I don't know how it really works. Some people are saying, no, I'm misunderstanding the situation. Okay, so how am I misunderstanding? Because I want to report the correct information. What is the truth of the situation so we can report this fairly? Because for me, if you're saying, why would it be a big deal for it to work with PC if you can't play PC games, is my question. Playcool says, most PS5 VR games suck for me. MetaQuest 3 plays all my VR library on Steam and has more features than PSVR 2. Dean Richards says, PSVR 2 headset will allow you to play Steam VR. Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. It'll let you play PC games on it, right? Excuse me. But you can't use... So, okay, I'm getting the full story. I'm glad. So here's how it works. If you have a PSVR 2 and you plug it into your PC, you can play all PC-oriented VR games on Steam. If you plug it into your PS5, you can play all the PS5-centric VR games on that console, but there's no crossover. So if you own a PSVR 2 and you want to play all the games, you have to own both a PS5 and a PC. That makes sense. To me, though, that's the killer device then, right? Like, if I want to play the best of VR, I want a PSVR 2. Because if I get a MetaQuest, I can only play games on PC. If I get previously it would have been, if you get PSVR 2, you can only play the PlayStation. But now it sounds like since you could do both, why wouldn't you want the one that does both? Right? Am I misunderstanding that? Like, I would want the PSVR 2. immediately this would devalue the other devices, because what if you eventually get a PS5? You'll already have a VR device that works with it, right? So to me, I think this sounds like a great idea and a great value. I think that Sony's doing the right thing here, because spending $600 for a VR device that's limited to games only on PS5 sounds terrible. There's way more VR games on PC than there are for console. So it makes sense to have this expensive device working with those games. So let me get this straight. You would be able to play Half-Life Alyx on your PSVR 2 on your PC, correct? That's it then. That's the device. If I was to choose, I would get PSVR 2 for sure. 100%. I'd be buying that. So that's my take. You could disagree, and if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments of the video. Please don't roast my testicles like the people about the fucking Elden Ring DLC who are all wrong. But if I'm saying things wrong here, please correct me. But for me, like, that sounds to me like that's the VR headset you want, the one that does everything. It does the best of both worlds, correct? Like, why wouldn't you want that? Makes sense. Okay. So anyway, cool. That's the news. Now it's time to get ready to do shout-outs and then get ready for Baldur's Gate 3. We got a lot to get to here today. All right. So, let's start on the YouTube side of things. We start off today with Evoker to the Face, who became a member this morning. Now, I think this might have been a re-upping. Maybe it wasn't. It might have been a legit new membership. Thank you, Evoker to the Face. If that's the case, I appreciate that. Oops, let me get out of the news screen. Sorry about that. And thank you, Broadway Trey, who also became a member this morning. I'd also like to say thank you to Lucifer Soul, who re-upped their membership for 9 months at the super supporter level. And says, if you have 5 lit candles at night and a wind blew 2 of them out, how many would you be able to relight on the next day? All of them. There's no reason you can't relight a candle on the next day. Unless a candle completely melts and it won't relight at all. But there's no way to gauge if that's going to happen or not unless you know the specific length of each candle and the rate at which they burn. So honestly, there's no proper way to actually answer this question. You don't know how many candles will blow out overnight. You could easily blow them out yourself and relight them. You don't know if a candle will melt all the way. So it's a bad question. Sorry about that, Lucifer Soul. You failed. Okay, continuing on. Okay, let's get to the tip side of things this morning, shall we? So we start off today with a $1 tip. Now, I'm just going to say this. I can neither confirm nor deny the things that people tell me in tips. I just read them. All right? Just to let you know, Phil, Rich has gone full damage. He's fired his editor on his birthday. His true colors have leaked in messages. You were right, Phil. Karma's a bitch, and he got his. How am I supposed to respond to this exactly? I'm actually wondering, like, what is the response that I'm supposed to give to that tip? Honestly, like, I think people want, here's what I think people want to hear from me, and then I'm going to actually give you my real response. I think what people want to hear from me is, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness that horrible things are happening to people who've been horrible to me, because karma's a bitch and what comes around goes around. And if you've treated me like crap over the years, wow, I'm so happy that people are having misfortunes, right? Okay, that's not my actual response. My response is, I don't care. I actually don't wish ill will against anyone. Even people who I feel really have hurt me over the years and said really awful things about me in general, I don't wish ill will to them at all. I mean, I'm even being serious here. To people like Tevin, to people like Keemstar, people like Memology or Duty Streams or whoever these people are. Yes, to the side scrollers in their podcast who really screwed me over last year. All these people who over the years have treated me poorly, okay? I don't wish ill will on any of them. I want them to be happy to the point where they don't have to be toxic and negative about people to get any kind of positivity out of it. Do you understand? Like, if anything, the one thing that I would wish for Rich is that he can find something he truly loves to do, he's successful at it, and he doesn't have to have toxicity and negativity around him all day. He doesn't have to make fun of people. He doesn't have to do bad, negative things. I can't imagine living in that life situation where your whole day is going online and talking about drama and trying to bring up drama and razzing people with negative memes and things, like that would drive me nuts. I would lose my mind legit and say I hate my job and never want to go back to it ever again. That's the truth. So I would hope that these people who have done awful things to me could find a way out of the ruts that they're in their lives and actually be able to move on to positive things. I don't want to hear, oh, did you hear that Rich's business is falling apart and everyone doesn't like him now? No, and I don't care, and I don't want to hear that. That's sad to me. Like, that actually makes me feel bad because I want people to be happy. Really. I don't want to hear, oh, all these things are going awful. You know what I mean? And now he's falling apart. That's terrible, right? The guy's a family. He needs money to support his family. You don't want to hear that he's falling apart at the seams. That's awful. So, no, I'm not going to respond in some negative way. I wish the guy the best, even though I know he doesn't have any good intentions for me. I wish him the best, and I hope that things get better for him. I'm sorry to hear that things are going bad. Okay? And here's a second tip. I guess it's from the same person. Another $1 tip. You outlasted them all. RIP to Review Tech USA. Perseverance and hard work go a long way. Please stop with this mentality, really. If you want to celebrate the fact that I'm still here, okay? Good. But don't say you're still here and everyone else is failing. I don't like that. If you want to celebrate my perseverance, that's one thing. That's a positive. Someone's positive perseverance. Not, haha, you're persevering and everyone else is failing. Just cut out the second half, that everyone else is failing. I don't want to hear about other people failing. That's sad to me. I don't want to think about that. You understand? Okay? Fair enough? Okay. So no, I'm not celebrating that someone's having a rough time who hasn't been nice to me, because I'm not that kind of person. I don't want to be that kind of person. I got better things to do with my time than to revel in the misfortunes of others, which is sad because that's pretty much the entirety of what a lot of people put out for content. Okay. I received a $30 tip. Wow, this is a very generous tip. Says, I've been a longtime fan of yours since Fallout 3. I never get to check out your streams since I do overnights now. Really looking forward to your playthrough of Rebirth. I'm insanely excited for the game. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Now, here's the thing. The reviews are out. The reviews are saying it's insanely good. It's the highest rated Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy 9, which is great. But sadly, there's spoilers all over the internet. Don't read them. So luckily, I haven't been spoiled yet, but I get the feeling I'm going to. Like, it's almost like inevitable, right? I'm going to be spoiled. I've already been spoiled on a stupid fan service, really cringy moment in the game that I'm not going to talk about until we actually play it. But I think those moments are going to be in it. Like, they're doing it on purpose to give fan service to people who've wanted these things for like 40 years or whatever, how long it is, right? 30 years. You know, these people who just can't control themselves, quite frankly. But anyway, yeah, luckily I've stayed away for now, but just to forewarn everyone, you know, the entire internet now is going to be rampant because everyone put out the reviews. People have already spoiling the plot. So do your best. Do your best to stay away, but you got to see what happens, all right? I'm excited for it. I am very excited for the game. Okay. Okay, we've got a $5 tip. Can you wish a happy birthday to my friend Timmons? Thank you so much. Okay, well, happy birthday to Timmons. I hope you have a good day. And thank you very much to this anonymous tipper for a $5 tip. Oops. There we go. Let's see here. Kirk is suggesting A Way Out as a co-op game. He says, great story, a lot of interesting stuff when you explore the boundaries of the map and interactable things. We've heard about A Way Out. Is that not the prison escape game, right? From many years ago now at this point. It's been out for a while. It's something to consider. I don't know if Kat's interested in it or not, but thank you for that. Thank you for the suggestion. Here we go. And I received another $1 tip from Kirk. Good for you, Phil. As Elon Musk says, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. I don't pay attention to anything Elon Musk says on principle. I like to retain brain cells, not lose them. But I thank you for the dollar tip regardless, Kurt. Okay. Okay, hold on a second here. I just gotta clean this up so I can see what I'm looking at. Okay, I received a $25 tip. From 1 Minute Man, he says, you did not go to a fireworks shop. You went to a toy maker's basement. You can cast guidance on a companion not having failed a perception check. That could have saved you 1 hour of aimless exploration last time. You can cast guidance on a companion not having failed a perception check. But I thought the point was we thought all the companions had failed the perception checks. So we needed to take new companions in with us to redo the check. I'm confused about what you're saying there. Transforming into a harmless animal makes it possible to explore without triggering a fight. Finally, you better get ready to cover your eyes. Oh boy, is there going to be nudity or something stupid today? Well, how do you know that? Like, what are we even doing today? I don't even know what we're doing today. Anyway, all right, well, thank you, 1 Minute Man, for all of that. I don't really understand what you mean about the guidance. If you wanted to clarify at some point, I'd appreciate that. Because are you saying that you could cast guidance and it gives you another chance at a perception check? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying you have to find someone who didn't have the check and then cast guidance on them and maybe improves their perception? That's what I'm trying to hammer in what you mean. Again, you're probably one of those is correct, and I'm just being such a noob to this series. I just don't understand it. So there you go. What else? I received a $20 tip. I'm on a media blackout till Rebirth comes out. Stupid people post spoilers anywhere they get the chance. Oh, I'm sure they're everywhere. I guarantee you the Rebirth spoilers are absolutely everywhere on the internet right now. Cheers, Phil. I'm going to head to sleep. Hope you to catch your Rebirth streams when they're on. All right, sounds good. See you in a week. A week of hibernation. Thanks you for the support today. And I'm on the same boat as you, but I guarantee... Sadly, here's the thing. When you're someone like me, you're just going to be spoiled. Like, I already know it. Like, I already know that, you know... I'm going to be spoiled no matter what. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just going to happen. There's too many avenues to be spoiled. So, it's life, right? It just kind of happened. Let's see here. Blackjack Yak 54 became a member this morning. Thank you, Blackjack Yak. Dr. Oink did a super chat and says, been playing Steve Tech 8. Game seems unbalanced. What the hell is that? I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Anyway, thanks, Dr. Oink. I don't know if that's a reference to something or there actually is a game called that and he's playing it. I don't know. Abu says the playthrough is going to take you months. Actually, I don't think so. You want to know why? We're talking about Final Fantasy VII. First week, I'm playing it 17 hours. On launch day, I'm playing 5 or more. Friday, I'm playing 3. Saturday, I'm playing 3. Monday, I'm playing 3. Tuesday, I'm playing 3. The only day I'm not going to play Final Fantasy VII next week is Wednesday. I'm going to do one Baldur's Gate 3 stream for the week, so at least I got the playthrough keep going. But I'm going heavy in to Final Fantasy VII next week. Yeah. Basically every daytime stream except Reality Day or React Day. So... yeah, I want to play the hell out of it to get a good chunk into it next week to get people engaged and really expecting it every day. Hopefully, here's what I'm really hoping. If I play a ton of it the first week, people will get used to me playing it and want to see more and get hooked and be engaged. I'm nervous if I don't play it enough that first week, people are going to think, oh, he's only going to play it like twice a week, and then they're not going to be interested. So I'm going to play a lot of it that first launch week, and hopefully that hooks people, much like it hooked people for Baldur's Gate. And we'll get a good crowd every day for it. I hope. Okay? Cool. All right, guys. So. Oh, you're playing Steve in Tekken 8. That's what he meant to say. Oh, Dr. Oink says he's playing Steve in Tekken 8 and the game seems unbalanced. You know, I can't attest to that. I wish I could. I can't. I'm not good enough at the game to attest to it yet. Like, in Street Fighter 6, you could immediately tell within a few weeks Ken was ridiculous. But now I would actually argue that other characters like Jury, JP, DJ, Luke to some extent, Guile, hell, even Chun-Li. Like, there's a lot of characters that are just way top tier, and then there's, like, a big gap, and then there's, like, mid-tier, and then there's, like, bottom tier. So, but with Tekken, I don't know yet. I would say right now the Mishimas seem ridiculously powerful with their options, mix-ups, counter hits, and just so many things they can do in every situation, while other characters are way more limited than that. And definitely for me, my weakness is lack of character knowledge with these characters that can constantly just attack, and don't really have openings. But very well, there could be ways around that stuff that I don't understand, and that's on me because I don't play the game enough, right? So I can't really answer to the level of competitiveness of Tekken 8. I would be completely ignorant. Okay. Blackjack Yak just did a super chat. He says, you know, I should have become a member of yours a long time ago. You've handled the review tech drama situation with maturity. Again, I didn't even know that there's a review tech drama situation until the tip this morning. I don't pay attention to any of this, nor do I care. You're a good man and a great example to others. All right, thank you, Blackjack Yak. Well, the only thing that I will say about this, and this is not personally towards Rich or anyone, but here's what I really don't get. So I'll be on a stream talking very normally about a topic, and somehow it gets skewed into drama, and now it's drama for everyone for like a week, and everyone's talking about it. I'm like, but what are you even talking about? There was like no drama. Like, just perfect example. The whole Elden Ring DLC situation from Wednesday, where literally I said nothing negative, and somehow people think it was negative, and sent people, they misposted it, misrepresented me, and now it's drama, right? There's other content creators who constantly have drama stuff happen, and no one ever covers it like that. Ever. Right? Like every once in a while, someone tries to get me to hear. Did you hear about the drama about Wings? Did you hear about the drama about Review Tech? Did you hear about the drama about this guy or that guy? And I'm like, no, I don't pay attention. But the stuff that it sounds like it's going on with them is way more drama so you would think that would hook people and people would be all over that shit. Right? But they're not. They're just not. But if it's me, if I fart on stream, it's like, oh my God, did you hear that Phil dropped a nuclear bomb on his stream? Right? Like, no, I farted. It's a normal thing that people do. You know, it's a natural occurrence. It's unfortunate when it happens. It smells, but it happens. But for me, that's like the end of everything, that I did something like that. But then another creator does something insanely overdramatic, bad drama, but it's gone in 10 seconds. Not a big deal. Right? It's just, it kills me. I don't get it. Like, there's been drama things with Review Tech and others that have been way more drama-esque, than anything I've ever done, but I'm the one that gets all the ire of the internet for some odd reason. I don't understand that at all. I've been told about, it's funny because here's what happens, right? Oh, your guys are right. I didn't put on the Gunner glasses. I'll do that. I forgot about that. Whenever someone wrongs me, I immediately get bombarded with information about the negative things that person or group has done. Like after the Side Scrollers interview last year, people bombarded me with information about how horrible Stuttering Craig and Adam Kriegler are as individuals. They sent me like laundry lists of shit hoping that I was going to do toxic streams about them. Guess how many toxic streams I did about those guys? 0, because that's not who I am. I don't care. But I hear all this stuff, and I'm like, really? And then you look into it for 5 minutes, and a lot of it's true. There's clips of it and stuff, and I'm like, so this is similar to some of the stuff that I've done in the past, but for me, it's like unforgivable, right? When I did something in 2010, that's unforgivable. You could never ever forget that Phil said this thing in 2010. Yet here's everyone else on the internet has exactly the same shit that's happened to them, but they're just, don't even bother talking about it. It's not a big deal, right? Last year, Review Tech had drama with some kind of I don't even know what it was, some kind of a charity thing. And again, he kept bringing me up, so people are hammering me with information. Did you hear how he went back on his charity and he freaked out on his viewers and this and that? I'm like, no, I didn't hear. I don't care. Right? And then guess what? Never brought up again. If that were me, if I were in that situation, this would be the thing talked about for the next 7 years. Phil's an awful person. He screwed a charity. He lied about charity. He did awful things. He attacks this, attacks that. You know what I'm saying? So everyone else just gets a pass on the internet. Everyone, they're human, they make mistakes, they're okay. But when Darkside Phil sneezes and a booger flies out of his nose on camera, that's like canceled material, right? It's like, huh? I don't get it, but that's just how I'm treated versus others. But again, I'm not part of any of this. I pay no attention to any of it. I don't know anything about it. Again, it really, literally just people send this shit to me. Here you go. Here's all this toxic stuff. Go ahead, destroy Craig and Adam. No. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to. That's not who I am. I'm not a drama creator. I play games. I do react content. We hang out and have a good time. That's who I want to be. Not a negative person. You understand? I don't understand that mentality, honestly. I received a $10 super chat from Dr. Oink. I bought the game and decided to roll Steve. Feels like I'm playing Dark Souls with a dagger. Shit seems unbalanced. How do you feel about the game thus far since you played? I like it. I like that a lot of characters play very differently. Although, that's on paper because really what it is there's a couple things about Tekken that are commons. Like, for example, number one, where are you fishing for a big hit that leads to a giant combo? Because everyone in the game has a giant combo, but everyone has a different way to get that one big hit that leads to the combo. Right? That's the difference. And then, how many routes do you have to big damage? Some characters only have a few, and some have a ton that are easy to pull off, and that's what's ridiculous. Like, I guess what a lot of people are saying about the new character, Azucena, she could literally duck, and she has, like, the fastest move from a duck, where it's just a big explosion of a hit, and it counter hits almost everything in the game and leads to a giant combo. So at any point in the game, if you whiff against her and she's not blocking and she ducks under it, you lose the round. Why is it that easy for her? Now, I don't know. It could be false, but that's what people were telling me about the character, right? And it's like, it's just weird. Why is it? That does seem unbalanced, does it not? But then again, is that more powerful than someone who is really trying to pick their hits and someone like King who can get that hit in and do a combo? It's just not as common, but every once in a while, he can grab you for giant damage and it's almost impossible to get out of, right? Again, everyone could argue different styles of fighting in fighting games are different or more powerful. So it's a really subjective thing, I feel. Like, I think some people would be like, well, I think it's more powerful for this guy to have this mix up and it's almost inescapable. Someone else would say, yeah, but this move's too fast and too overpowered and leads to too much damage. In the case of Steve has always been the very fast mix-up character with his punches. He's not going to do giant damage, but he's fishing for mix-up hits. And once he gets you with 2 or 3 mix-up hits, leads to either a crumple or a juggle, and then he gets big damage, and then he kind of mixes you up when you're trying to get up. So he's like, stick and move, stay on you, stay on you, stay on you. If he gets knocked away, he's screwed. Like, that's how Steve has always been. He has to be in on you. He's a boxer. That's how boxing is, right? In boxing, you got to stick and move on your opponent. You can't back up away. Now you're fucked. You got to be in on it. Get in on their defense. Find their holes. Get that one hit. Boom. Now juggle, 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 juggle. Get them to the corner. Now they can't get up because you keep knocking them when they're trying to get up. That's how you play with Steve. That's different from the style of many other characters in the game. So, okay. I got one more tip here. Huh? So, I got a dollar tip. Someone says, you know you can play Tekken in your free time. No one forces you to play it stream only. I don't know how many times I've explained to everybody. I don't know if this is meant to be like a mean message or not. Because I've explained this a million times. Guys, I'm in here 6 days a week, full time, right? Streaming, constant gameplay. When I leave this room to spend time with my family. And the last thing that I want to do is pick up a controller and play video games. I'm not going to leave this room with the stream off, go downstairs and play Tekken 8 and grind. Like, that's not going to happen. That's what this here is exactly what I do for a living, and this is what I do for gameplay. That's it. I want my life outside of this room to be separate from this so that my whole life isn't video games, video games, video games, video games. Do you understand? Now, I'm not saying nothing video game related, but like if my wife and I are gonna if she's gonna play a game and I can watch her play and comment on it, help her with it, that's different. Or if we're watching someone else play a game, that's different. But I don't want to just be playing games my whole life, right? Like, that's nuts. Imagine if all you did, imagine if you were a house painter, right? So you're out all day painting houses. When you come home, what do? You go outside, you paint your house. The fuck? What are you, crazy? It's all you're going to do your whole life? I'd lose my mind. I really would. So I purposefully separate that part of my life from my private part of my life. I am not going to sit here and grind in Tekken off camera. I don't have time. I'm in here so often playing games. I don't have time outside of that to now go play Tekken offline. If you were talking to me 10, 15 years ago when I was single, I had no life, no family, no responsibilities, all I did was play video games all day, that's a little different. Then yeah, you could argue, why aren't you grinding off camera or whatever? I don't have that now. Dude, I'm 41, about to be 42 years old, but married with a family, busy shit, busy life. I'm not going to sit here grinding in Tekken off stream when I could be spending time with my family. Right? Like, what are you, crazy? Yeah, if you think that that's valid, I'm going to sit in my office playing Tekken away from my family when I'm not on stream. That's stupid. I'm not doing that. Okay? All right. Dr. Oink did another super chat. What do you say here? Steve has no giant combos. King has a 60% grab. Well, yes and no. King has 60% combo grabs that are easily breakable. His best grabs are fast one-hit grabs that are harder to counter, and those on average do around 20 to 30%. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Anyway, have a good stream, brother. I'll be here. Yeah, and again, that every character in Tekken, well, not every character, but various characters in Tekken play very differently. And yeah, King fundamentally plays totally different from Steve, who fundamentally plays totally different from, say, June, who fundamentally plays different from, say, Lars, right? They're all different. So, but that is the beauty of a good fighting game. You have characters that play completely differently, and you can find a character that feels like your style and settle into that character. It may not be fair. Like, I mean, hey, I feel that same way about Street Fighter 6. Who are my favorite characters in Street Fighter 6? The bottom tier. Lily, Dalsim, Zangief, Honda. Did you know Capcom Cup is currently going on, right? I think it started. And there's no E-Hondas, no Lilies whatsoever in Capcom Cup. 0 of them have qualified. Only one Zangief, and that's the best Zangief in the world, Snake Eyes, qualified. Okay? So the characters I like are outright the worst. But I still like playing with them. Even though it's such a hard, you know, a hard climb to win fights with that. It's still fun to use them. And it's the same thing. You're not going to have a character who's always the easy way to win, but you can, if you can win with those characters, it means a lot, you know? It means more than, say, someone who picked fucking Ken or Luke and flowcharted their way to victory. Because, by the way, at Capcom Cup, there's like 8 to 10 Lukes and like 8 Kens. So half of Capcom Cup's qualifiers are 2 characters who are the easy mode characters that you don't need really a lot of skill to play with. Sad. But that's Capcom Cup because the game's not balanced. It's just not a balanced game. You have these top tiers that are just definitively easier to win with, which is just stupid. But that's how they made Street Fighter 6. They got to fix it. I feel like they will. I feel like come the first season patch, they will rebalance the game and fix that shit. Because right now, it's just way too skewed towards like 4 or 5 characters. Okay, are we good? I think it's time to end the show. And to get started with Baldur's Gate. Right? Why didn't I play Helldivers? Because Helldivers is an online co-op game, and I don't play online co-op games. That's why. It's not a solo experience, right? It's not even a couch co-op experience that I could try with Kat. It's an online co-op experience. That's why I haven't played it. There's no point. Yeah, you can match me with randoms, but the whole point is to have a coherent team that works together to win, so what's the point? Right? Am I right or am I right? Maybe I'm wrong, but that was my understanding. And when I talked about it, I said I'm happy for them making such a great game. It's only a $40 game. It's monstrously exceeded any sales expectations they could have had. People are absolutely loving it. An online co-op environment, good for you if that's the style of game you like. I'm happy for you. You found one that's not AAA, not bloated, not overexpensive, satisfying, fun, and I want more smaller studios to succeed at this capacity. Rather than having every game being an over-bloated budget AAA game that sucks and microtransacts you out the ass, I'd rather have smaller studios have hits like this. So that's great to me. That's a good move for the industry, in my opinion. Just not my style. Not my style of game, right? Okay. All right. Time to end the show. Good show, long show today. You know, whenever I come back from a break, we usually have a much longer show. I cannot wait to see how I am misquoted and taken out of context today. They'll probably say that, like I said, 100 nasty things about Review Tech when I said 0. They'll probably, right? They'll probably say I hate Elden Ring even worse. Probably even worse. They'll probably even say, like, I hate Final Fantasy. I can't wait. Yeah, I mean, I was so shocked at what they said about Elden Ring DLC coverage. Can you imagine what's coming out tomorrow overnight? I mean, anyway, thank you all for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed, and let's have a nice relaxing day in Baldur's Gate 3, and let's have a nice challenging day in Tekken tonight, and I'll be back tomorrow for another awesome podcast with all of you. Everyone, peace out. I'll see you on Saturday.